Vice recently hosted a debate on feminism, opposing conservatives and liberals. The discussion was interesting, but it was not really a debate in the end, it was more people making points. In this video I want to focus on a specific topic that kept coming back: the issue of intersectionality. The tension around this point is in fact very deep and reveals how conservatives and liberals view the world. It is important to understand how conservatives and liberals theorize the world if we want to be able to find any common ground for an intelligent discussion. Liberal women in this debate kept wanting to discuss women's issue in an intersectional context, while the conservative women wanted to focus on the issues that are common to all women. It is interesting that this fundamental question, are there any issues facing women in general, did not find any satisfying answer in this discussion. Let me present in a formalized way the two opposing models of reality that conservatives and liberals have regarding intersectionality. We could call the conservative model the general model, and the liberal model the intersectional model. By model here, I mean the underlying statistical model that social scientists will use to study society. The model that would be used to estimate the gender pay gap, the moderate penalty, and so on. These models matter because that is how scientists produce scientific facts. Let's take the example of gender and race on labor market discrimination. The conservative model in this case would be discrimination is explained by gender plus race. There is an effect of gender that is common to every woman and that does not differ by race. If a person is black, for instance, then the effect of being black will simply be added to the effect of being a woman. For instance, imagine that being a woman and being black both have negative effects on being called back from a job interview. Let's say that both of these factors decrease the probability by 10%. Then if you are a black woman, the effect will be minus 20% in this hypothetical example. In this model of reality, you can separate being a woman and being black. I think that's what Pearl, a conservative woman, was asking. What is this common negative effect of being a woman? This model is very different from the intersectional model. The intersectional model goes as follows. Discrimination is explained by gender times race. The intersectional model is a model where the effect of being a woman cannot be separated from the effect of being black, for instance. This model has interesting property because it is not what we call additive anymore, but interactive, which means that the effects can be much more complex. For instance, this model could show that black men are more discriminated than white women, for instance. Then if you introduce class, you can have very complex intersection. In this model, there is not one effect common to women in general, but a differential of effect for different groups of women. If this model is true, then there is no unity in women's experience. Further, you could also have findings like, for instance, black men with a working class background are the most discriminated against in the labor market, and white men with an upper class background are the least discriminated. then you would not have a general effect of women versus men, because the gender will always be interacting with race and class. The effects of discrimination or oppression and so on don't simply add up in that model. Here I think that we truly are in the presence of two different types of feminism, which subsum two different understandings of reality. And that is not a simple issue. Actually, this is a deep scientific issue. Social scientists spend a lot of brain power trying to estimate these things. At least on the political level, it's interesting to note that we see a polarization on this topic. It seems to me that liberals are now arguing that there is no general women's issues or oppression, but rather group-specific issues in which gender can have different effects, like we see in the difference, the effect of being a disabled working-class woman and so on. On the other hand, it seems that conservatives have started to rally around women's biology to define women's issues, and in particular motherhood, which I think will be the next big ideological battle between right-wing and left-wing feminists. This question of intersectionality will determine ultimately if feminism is still very much alive or if it's dead. And it would also determine if we can even talk about feminism, or if we should rather talk about feminism in the plural form.